Right, welcome to Big Gunner Podcast. Sorry for the little late start here today. A couple things I want to address today. I saw some things online where the Giants have the third ranked defensive front in football. Pretty interesting how we get a draft choice who's never been on the field, who we're very high on, who I saw play live in the Penn State Notre Dame game, Abdul Carter, who's shown signs of being an elite type force on the edge. But again, we had a team last year, where the sixth, seventh week was leading the league in sacks, and then we have injuries, and we don't have that pedigree of being that elite type front four coming off a 3-14 season. So till we see it, Carl Banks addressed this and said we're not even really good against the run. And I think a lot of it is going to be the third pick Alexander and the interior tackles that we got to see if we can put someone next to Dexter Lawrence and then can kind of produce in a way that we could stop, really start addressing our run defense because it was pretty abysmal last year. And I think that's where it all starts. We're all excited about the pass rush and we're going to knock around quarterbacks. But to me, it starts up front if we can stop the run. I think if we stop the run, it helps our pass rush out a little bit. And I think that's one of the big the big question marks, but I think it's a positive for the team this year is where we're going to get, how our front four is going to play. And I think what it will do is it'll make McFadden, Okereke, and the backers, Johnson, a lot better, being able to free up and tackle in space and not being able to get guards out on them blocking because they're worried about trying to stop the interior. The interior three of the offensive line is going to be worried about Lawrence and who's next to him. So I kind of see this all as a positive. I kind of like trying to figure out how we can get all four guys, Thibodeau, Burns, Carter, and Lawrence on the field in certain big passing downs. I think that'll be something Bowen will probably get done, throughout the season. Maybe not right away, but probably in certain situations they'll probably get all four guys on the field. And then, making sure our secondary tackles too in the run game. I think that's really important. I think one of the stats that I really would like to see used more is missed tackles in space. I think that's a stat that no one really talks about, but I saw McFadden struggled in that department last year, missed a lot of tackles, and I'm hoping that he gets better. I think tackling a guy in open field, when you can sit down and you make contact, 9 or 10 yards before the first down marker, and then we end up, instead of making that tackle at contact and having a 3rd and 8, we miss and then we get a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. These are what keeps drives, going along for offense. And really, what the number one thing is getting off the field on 3rd down. So, being a good 3rd down defense, being really good against the run, in addition to what we feel is going to be a spectacular pass rush, are going to be part of the keys, I think. And of course, I always say this: staying healthy. And then the other important aspect that I'm listening to, and you listen to all these gambling shows and who's on and people predicting different over-under team wins. I'm going to be on the Giants over 5.5. Only basically, I think, because I just feel if we stay healthy, we're going to accomplish this. I know the schedule is brutal. I know the division's brutal. I think all these teams go through it. But I just feel like we were there if we stayed healthy. Again, I go back to that big stat about Andrew Thomas. When he's on the field, the last 2 years we're 6-8. And I think if we can somehow figure a way to keep that left tackle healthy and upright, I think we're going to be better offensively. I think we should get a little bit more production in the quarterback position. I think the team, basically, and I've said this before, the bringing back all the key offensive linemen from last year and the depth from last year tells me that they didn't think it was the line. They thought it was the quarterback play. So this all falls on Dable, which, we hope that he's going to be around. But so a little prediction, we're one of these guys who broke down every single Giant game, has us at 9-8. 9-8 would be thrilled. I mean, it probably wouldn't get us in the playoffs, but it would really get us to a point where we keep our front office and the coaching staff intact. And I think that's the accomplishment we'd like to see. Even if we have a losing record, if we see progress throughout the year, somehow we get maybe Jackson Dart on the field at some point. Ideally, I don't want to see him on the field because that means we're winning. But if we have to get him on the field, we kind of want to see progress with him, and that'll kind of keep this this coaching staff intact. And the attacks are going to come often if the Giants get off to a slow start. Patience is running thin in the fan base. I'm sure it's in the front office. The front office feels the effects of the fan base and social media and the comments being made. But I'm going to be one that's going to stay positive throughout. I believe this team is better. I think we've underperformed, obviously, the last 2 years. I go back to that, first year of Brian Dable when we made the playoffs and won a game. When you see a team decline 2 years like that, usually the regime doesn't stay around. But I like the fact that John Mara made this decision to keep these guys in place. Now, as far as the Jackson Dart situation, I've heard guys suggest that he should play week 1. I'm not a strong proponent of that, but we're going to keep a close eye on what happens in camp and in the early preseason games. I go back to I don't know, it was 2016, one of these years where probably the best preseason performance I've ever seen out of a rookie was Dak Prescott. Put him right in. He starts week 1. And look at what you have. You have a guy with a decent career. So if we get some kind of crazy production out of Jackson Dart, it's going to put a big decision for the coaching staff. And from what we hear, Brian Dable's leaning that way. He really is working with Dart hard and trying to get Dart probably on the field sooner than later, which is not good for Wilson or Winston. But by the same token, if that's what he's pushing, we'll see what happens. I would prefer that we get to the later part of the season. Hopefully we're in contention. Hopefully we're playing meaningful games. But if we get off to that 0-4 start, dreadful 0-4 start, I would not be surprised if we see Dart in New Orleans. That's what it's going to come down to. But hopefully it's going to come down to 2, where Pittsburgh struggled last year with Russell Wilson, was protecting him late. They did a great job midway through the season. I think maybe some injury bugs, and Buffalo got their hands on him, and it seemed like that team, when they were in the playoffs, struggled a little bit. And I think that's kind of where I look at. I don't know if it was Buffalo that had him. I think it might have been someone else that beat Pittsburgh last year. But I think the real part of this equation is Russell Wilson's going to need protection for sure. So if we find a way to get good play out of our center, it would protect him. I think that's going to be really the telling sign. But again, I'd like to see Russell Wilson play a little bit more. I think from what we're hearing, he has had a solid off season, getting to know our team and getting comfortable with our receivers. And they like the way he throws a deep ball. So if he's going to play well, and some people said he probably looked the best of any veteran giant in minicamp, that kind of tells me that, I think we're going to be ready. So again, it's going to come down to the quarterback play. I hate to say that. I've always been a defensive guy and like the running game. I like offensive line play, but it really comes down to, what we get out of the quarterback play. So moving on to some gambling, we had, we saw that the OKC had a tragic injury to Halliburton, and OKC wins Game 7. Now we see the moves being done where Houston looks like they're making a little push, getting Kevin Durant and getting Finney Smith and, re-signing Van Fleet. Houston looks like they're going to be a team to contend with, and love the coaching staff. I love the drive. I love the way to defend. So, we're going to see some probably competition. LeBron re-signs with the Lakers. Heat don't make many moves. The Knicks get Jordan Clarkson. But again, the East is just so wide open that maybe if one of these players make a deal, or teams like the Heat make a deal, one of them can come up and rise up and have a chance in the East. The Knicks are really lined up for a good run if they if they can somehow right the ship without Jason Tatum there and without Tyrese Halliburton probably for most of the season. Both guys with Achilles injuries kind of means, Philly, Cleveland, the Knicks, all the teams that probably look like they could be on the rise. Cleveland also Philly at the 3rd pick of the draft, and also got Bronny from Auburn. So Philly's making their moves too. So it should be great. On the hockey front, right here in Florida, Panthers re-signed Brad Marchand, re-signed Ekblad. Marchand, was rumors he was going to Toronto, so keeping him around I think is good for the locker room. I think it's great for the fan base, and having a veteran player that's now won a second cup with the 2 different teams, that veteran presence always helps. Should be great. So really the big thing is going to be we haven't had a three-peat since the 1980s in the Edmonton Oilers. And so we're going to have to see whether the Panthers can keep it going, but they have the talent. The goalie's in, I think, his last year of his contract, so we got great play out of Bob, playing himself into the Hall of Fame. And maybe we get the three-peat. It would be kind of fun to watch, Panthers next year. So getting on to the baseball, a very interesting week, especially down here in Florida, as the Marlins win 6 straight as an underdog. Team totals going over all 6 games last week. Sweeps Giants, sweep Arizona. First time in franchise history. You made a killing if you were on the Marlins. But here's the factor tonight. Kind of going against them tonight with Minnesota, only because Twins are probably a little bit of a better team. And though does that day off, losing that momentum, coming back to Florida, playing in these packed stadiums and a little bit of baseball vibe, coming back to a situation where attendance is low. So I'm going to take my chances. And also looking at the Mets tonight. For some crazy reason, again, you look at Mets coming back off their road trip, kind of bad, but that was so bad in Pittsburgh, being outscored by the lowly Pirates 30-4. Pirates, who got it going last night and beat the Cardinals 7-0. So have kept it going, outscored their opponents last 4 games 37-4. But I think the Mets kind of have a chance with Holmes on the mound. They're kind of their ace, their best pitcher right now. And, going against Peralta, which should be a tough task getting against the hot Milwaukee Brewers. But I think somehow the Mets figure out when everybody's down on them, the crowd will be down on them. I think the Mets get it done tonight, too. Last night we also looked at the Oakland A's as a nice underdog against Tampa. Tampa coming off that long road trip. We like to go against that. And Tampa, the A's get a win, get out to a 4-0 lead. Tampa comes back and ties at 4-4. And the A's would get 2 in the ninth to go up 6-4 and hold on for a win, which was good to see. Orioles get a big win in Texas. Texas now played 4 straight extra inning games, which is a rarity and a team record and a rarity in baseball that this happens. But they score 7 runs in the 2 innings and set a team record and win by 4. Lose the under in the Seattle Kansas City game last night. They lose 6-2, total of 7. Thought the pitching would hold up. Did for a while. Was 1-0 in the 4th, and then tied. And then by the end of the 5th, it was 6-1 and 5-1, and then kind of looking away. So there. So in the Yankees, we had a little win on Toronto last night. Yankees winning 5-4. So if we look at the slate today, as I dabble around here, looking at the first game on the board tonight is the Padres and the Phillies. Philly Sanchez against Pivetta. Padres aren't playing too well. They get Bryce Harper back, laying 154. That would be a pass for me. Skeens is laying 159 to the Cardinals. I would say ride the Pirates while they're hot and they're ace on the mound. Tough to lay 160. Losing record against a team with a winning record, but in this case, Paul Skeens, tough luck loser last week against Mazeroski in Milwaukee. Kind of like a little bit of shot at Skeens. We've already picked the Mets. Giants and the Diamondbacks, Birdsong and Gallen, both guys getting ripped apart. The Giants lineup isn't really missing Chapman, so they're not hot, but both starters really struggling, so I might look at an overplay there, 9.5. Fried and Gosman in Toronto. Do the Yankees right the ship? Total of 8. We're going to pass on that. A's Springs against Baz. I might take a shot at the A's again at plus 142. Liking to look at a dog. Like the A's team. I know they've been struggling, but we might take a run and take a shot with the A's. Jeff DeGrom pitched a shutout against Baltimore. I think he continues that. Late 173 with the Rangers over the Orioles. Hancock and Lorenzen, Royals, Mariners. We really don't have a play there. If we had to put the gun to your head, probably the Mariners, I would say. Twins and the Marlins, Ryan and Cabrera. Just the line's telling you take the Twins late 145 against a team with 7 wins in a row. Very rare that you see that, so we'll ride the Twins. Tigers, Nationals. Nationals had a very successful road trip coming back. Flaherty's been getting beat up a little bit, so Williams has been okay for Nationals. I might take a small lean to the Nats, but I'm going to pass on this and go over 9.5. Figure the Tigers' bats are going to rise up. Nationals' bats have been hitting the ball well. Just think the line might be a little too high to lay Detroit. Do not like the Nationals in this spot. Reds and Red Sox. Singer and Fitz is a pass. Red Sox are a pick 'em in 10. Angels and the Braves. Anderson coming out against Holmes. Boy, big price there. 195 on Atlanta. I think that's a pass. I don't like that game. Guardians and the Cubs. Kind of like the Cubs lay 174. Guardians struggling with the bat. Have the Williams on the mound has pitched pretty well. Maybe if the wind's blowing in, or maybe an underplay there too. But if I had to bet, that would be the Cubs. Like this next game. Line's a little low, which is kind of scary. Gordon and Dollander, Astros, Rockies. Astros playing okay. We like the Astros late 52. And I'm going to take a flyer here. Smith and Yamamoto against the Dodgers. Dodgers laying 309, coming back from a road trip. I'm going to take a shot and take a flyer with the White Sox, very small, at plus 279. So there's the baseball tonight. We'll get more into football as we keep going. On the soccer front, USA plays Guatemala in an upset win over Canada, and Honduras upsets Panama, and they get Mexico. I kind of think with the way the system is set up now that they go right to penalty kicks and don't play any overtime, I was kind of leaning toward maybe taking, with the pressure on the better teams, which happened twice. If you take the draw and then take the team to advance, the underdog, two big prices, you probably get a chance. And once you get to that draw, penalty kicks, anything can happen. U.S. went to overtime in their penalty kick win against Costa Rica. So I just don't see it in this hand. I think Mexico and U.S. are the better teams in this spot. I think they've had the pressure put on them, gearing up for a final. So I would kind of lean that way with the U.S. Great game last night in Orlando with Manchester City getting beat by Al Hilal, a Saudi Arabian team. Very interesting game, 4-3 in overtime. Great game. Manchester big favorite and goes down. And again, we've had 3 out of the 6 games in the World Club Cup all go to overtime, which means the draw comes into play there. So with the pressure on all these teams, I'm going to look at the FIFA World Cup and give you the games for today. Juventus against Real Madrid. The draw is plus 264. Real Madrid's line 128. Juventus plus 348 in a 3-way line. I kind of think I might take a shot at a draw on this. 3 o'clock start should be a great game today, worth watching. Monterrey and Borussia Dortmund. I think the same thing goes with there. I would take plus 281 on a draw, and hopefully you get 1 out of 2, and you're whistling Dixie there if you can. If you get 2 out of get both of them. But again, pressure's on these favorite teams, Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund, to win. The German team and of course Real Madrid from Spain. So we'll see what happens, but we'll be watching. Those are the games for today. Again, we're going to be on Oakland. We're going to be on Minnesota Twins and the New York Mets. Those are 3 games, and we will get back to you next week, and we'll see you on Thursday with Defo on Bury Your Bookie. See you then.